In the fast-paced and often dramatic world of reality television, few couples have captured the public's attention quite like Brandon Gibbs and Julia Trubkina. Their story, woven with cultural nuances, family dynamics, and personal aspirations, highlights the intricacies of modern relationships, particularly in the realm of parenthood. Recently, amid their renewed presence on the franchise 90 Day, The Last Resort, the couple has been dropping hints about the possibility of starting a family together. This development has sparked interest and speculation among fans, eager to catch every detail of their evolving narrative. Brandon, hailing from Dinwiddie, Virginia, and Julia, who comes from Krasnodar, Russia, met in what could only be described as a series of fortunate coincidences. Their paths first crossed in 2019 through a unique introduction orchestrated by one of Brandon's friends. While traveling in South Korea, this friend spotted Julia dancing in a club and recognized her distinctive talent. After connecting with her on a video call, Brandon was introduced to Julia, marking the beginning of a whirlwind romance that would eventually lead to their marriage. Julia had established herself as a go-go dancer prior to meeting Brandon, an occupation he was initially accepting of. However, as their relationship deepened, Brandon expressed his discomfort with Julia's career choice, particularly concerning her work in American clubs. This divergence in perspective hinted at the challenges that would surface as the couple navigated their relationship across cultural lines. Fast forward to 2020, and Brandon and Julia tied the knot in April, a moment marked by both joy and significant challenges stemming from Brandon's family dynamics. The couple faced interference from Ron and Betty Gibbs, Brandon's parents, who were deeply involved in their lives even after they were married. This interference raised questions about the couple's autonomy and their ability to establish a life free from parental influence, especially as they considered the prospect of having children. Julia has not returned to Russia since relocating to the U.S. in 2020, which added another layer to her struggles. Not only was she adapting to a new life far from home, but she was also tasked with balancing her independence against the expectations of her in-laws. This sudden shift in lifestyle, coupled with the pressure of societal norms regarding family building, created a complex web of emotions for both Julia and Brandon. Recently, fans have become increasingly curious about when Brandon and Julia might choose to have a baby. In May 2023, Julia took to Instagram to provide clarity on this ongoing speculation. Addressing her followers, she voiced her frustration over the incessant questioning regarding their plans for parenthood. Despite the 3 years since their wedding, Julia articulated a poignant reminder. The timeline of turning a couple into a family should not be dictated by societal expectations. Sharing her perspective, she exited the conventional narrative that couples should rush into having children. Julia explained that having a baby had never been a fixed goal for her and Brandon. She emphasized that personal circumstances may dictate family planning decisions far more than societal norms should. In the face of ongoing inquiries, she urged fans to respect their privacy and stop pressuring them about parenthood. On the flip side, Brandon's own reflections on the matter appeared to suggest an openness to the idea of starting a family. In his Instagram post, he conveyed a sense of ambivalence, acknowledging the challenges of being entirely prepared for parenthood. Nevertheless, he hinted at a growing willingness to explore the possibility of trying for a baby. His comments sparked curiosity about whether there had been conversations with Julia about this significant step in their relationship, or if external pressures were influencing his thoughts, particularly from his parents. As the couple navigated their personal lives, they reunited with familiar faces from the 90 Day Fiancé universe while filming 90 Day, The Last Resort Season 2 in Arizona. One of these faces was Natalie Mordautseva, who shares a complex history with Julia, primarily due to their respective cultural backgrounds. Julia, a Russian native, and Natalie, hailing from Ukraine, found themselves at odds during their first encounters. Despite having shared the screen previously in 90 Day Fiancé Season 8, their interactions were fraught with tension. During their reunion, Natalie seemed to sense the underlying animosity and directly asked Julia if she was pregnant. The unexpected question took Julia by surprise and prompted a defensive response, particularly when Natalie comments on Julia's weight gain, which Julia perceived as an insult. During a confessional, Julia expressed her frustrations about her attempts to start anew with Natalie only to be met. The last resort couple Brandon Gibbs and Julia Trubkina have been dropping hints about having a baby together amid their franchise comeback. Julia is from Krasnodar in Russia, while Brandon is from Dinwiddie, Virginia, but their paths crossed in 2019 under the most unexpected circumstances. Brandon's friend who was traveling saw Julia dancing at a club in South Korea and connected them through a video call. Julia used to work as a go-go dancer for a living when she met Brandon. He didn't mind then but didn't want Julia working at a club in America. Julia has not been back home since she arrived in the U.S. in 2020. Julia married Brandon in April 2020 while having to deal with his parents, Ron and Betty Gibbs' interference in their private lives. Moving out of Brandon's parents' house was also not a great idea since the elderly couple was still involved in their affairs. It appears they are also influencing Brandon's decision about having kids with Julia. Brandon and Julia's baby saga is a twisted affair, but could it have come to an end with Julia getting pregnant this year? In May 2023, Julia shared an emotional update on her Instagram where she addressed the repeated questions from fans about when she was going to have a baby with Brandon. It had been 3 years since Julia and Brandon's wedding, but she wrote that whether it's 3 years or 10 years, it doesn't oblige a couple to have children. Julia explained she and Brandon had never tried to have a baby because it had never been a goal of theirs. She added that society shouldn't decide when a couple is supposed to have kids. Julia wished for fans to stop asking questions. She mentioned some health issues she was going through and some important questions about the future, which she didn't disclose. However, Brandon talked about the topic in his own Instagram post. His opinions on having babies differed from his wife's. I think it's hard to be 100% ready for this, but I think part of me is already saying why not start trying, Brandon wrote. He suspiciously added, "We had a conversation with Julia," not revealing who he was referring to. Fans wondered if Brandon's parents were involved in their business again. Julia came face-to-face with Natalie Mornovtseva while filming 90 Day, The Last Resort Season 2 in Arizona. The co-stars were last seen together in 90 Day Fiancé Season 8, but seemed to have had some tensions running between them, because Natalie was from Ukraine and Julia's from Russia. Natalie's boyfriend, Josh Weinstein, noticed some bad vibes between Natalie and Julia and asked her if they knew each other. Natalie said they did, and their relationship was twisted, complicated. Julia pulled Natalie aside to talk to her in private. Julia was being polite to Natalie by asking her if she wanted a drink. The two exchanged pleasantries in Russian, but as they sat down to chat, Natalie asked Julia, out of the blue, "Are you pregnant?" When Julia said no, Natalie told her she had gained some weight. An offended Julia lashed out at Natalie in her confessional, where she said she was trying to start fresh with Natalie, but she tried to insult her by talking about her weight. "You. I'm not fat," Julia said angrily. However, Julia didn't say anything about her supposed pregnancy. 90 Day, The Last Resort's Julia's Instagram posts tend to be a little cryptic. She had Instagram stories showing her crying, but not revealing the reason why. Julia hinted at divorce from Brandon and claimed they were separated for the anniversary in 2024, even though they went on a European vacation later that year. In November, Julia posted a reel featuring Brandon with the voiceover, "Did you miss us? 'Cause we missed you." She wrote the cryptic caption, "Social media is not reality. It's time to tell what I usually started to say and always stopped myself." Former couples from the 90 Day Fiancé universe join a retreat in a last effort to mend their relationships. As they confront past issues, the series examines their journeys to resolve conflicts and determine the future of their unions.